Gee, Ray, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
All right, yo, let's get into it.
Try to take over the world. Try to take over the world.
And greatest chaplain in the world, Mr.
Try
Lance
to
O'Neill.
take over the world.
Yo. What up, everybody? What up? Hey, it's your boy KJ Bradley and the greatest chaplain in the world, Mr. Lance O'Neill. We are back on another Sunday, locked and loaded. We got some stuff we got to talk about, man, and we hope that you guys are here to talk about it with us. Other than that, let's get the pleasantries going. Chappie, how are you, man? It's good to see your face.
Yeah, you too, KJ. How's California treating you?
Oh, every day I'm here, I die a little bit more inside. But you know, it's okay.
At least the weather's nice.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's I'm in a constant state of fall, so it's not too bad. I've come to the realization that all its pleasantries is just not for me, you know, and that's okay. I'm not talking bad about it. It's it's great state, great people, great, we've had great encounters so far. I just realized pretty early on that this is not a state where I would consider myself, frequenting too often. Just it is what it is. What you got on your side of the world?
Oh, not much here. Same old hot and humid. It was 100 today. And yeah. The thing for California, I would think with you is once you go out of the gates of where your on post is, there's probably not a lot of people that look quite like you. There's in that area of California.
Not in Monterey, no.
Mostly
but
white.
If I go hang out in Salinas or Marina, I'm more comfortable. But like here in Monterey, because it's a tourist city and it's right next to Carmel, which is Pebble Beach, not really, not really my kind of people. They, it's pinkies up, lot of mayonnaise and raisins in the recipes here. Not a lot of good food. So just,
I just had the thought because one of your favorite quotes is Malcolm X and saying like the biggest enemy of the black person is the white liberal savior. And you're surrounded by them.
I cannot tell you how many King Trump protests I drive by every day. They hound the sidewalks, and it's just like, bro, like, I get it. Thank you. I understand, but stop. Like, you know what I mean? Like, stop. Like, just stop.
Well, the crazy thing, like, if you're going to do a no king protest, why not wait at least until, I don't know, it's the last year of his 4-year term, and he's at that point dropping hints about trying to change the Constitution for a third term, or trying to actually do it, not 6 months in where he's just like, yeah. And I got to tell you, I think that for everybody on the right, I have yet to really hear anybody kind of go, oh yeah, I would totally support Trump for a third term. I heard way more Obama. I would have supported Obama for a third term way more than I ever have seen anything for Trump. So that goes to tell you, I think people realize like Trump is to me, he's the course correction that we needed, but you don't want to stay on that course for longer than you need to.
That is definitely a way. I like I told you, I've never really worried myself with Trump. Trump is an opportunity. Like, Trump is who he is. He is a business opportunist, right? So whatever is best for business, he's gonna go with it. Black, brown, purple, gold, green. It doesn't matter. However, he, with his narcissistic tendencies, he tends to surround himself with people who will kiss his ass and do nefarious things on the back end. But that's another story. Let's get into what we got today.
And that's a great thing that you just said. He surrounds himself with people, and I popped that up a couple of seconds too soon, because I think there's a point where at least for Trump, there's an old song from the 60s that Nirvana also rehashed in the 90s. And the line is, just because they're paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you, right? And the report came out this week that the Secret Service didn't just drop the ball. They dropped the ball, kicked it backwards, picked it up, and ran into their own end zone, spiked the ball, and it. I would say the other team picked it up for a touchdown. That's how bad. That's how bad it was. And the funny thing about it is, from what I read, there were several agents that were suspended without pay for between 11 and like 47 days. So out of the debacle of the failure of what happened with that first assassination attempt where he actually got shot, nobody got fired. Oh, don't give me that. If you go back and you look at, you can see it clearly he got shot. I know that's the conspiracy theory. I've seen the little hole in his ear.
There is no hole in his ear. There's no hole in his ear.
Yeah, it healed up, dude. There's a little scar right there. Like, have you not seen the pictures of it?
Cartilage does not grow back, my friend. We don't have to hash it. We don't have to hash it. It's gonna go down in the JFK files either way. But
cartilage doesn't grow back, but it's real easy to put the skin back on. The skin grows back very easily.
On what if there's no cartilage?
Oh, dude, no, it's like a stitch. Like, think about if you break your nose and let's say it splits open right here, right in the middle, right? What do? They get stitches and they pull it together, and you're gonna have a little scar right there. That's all it is. I mean, that's what's funny when the side note when people talk about AR-15s create bullet holes this big in people. It's like, no, they create holes this big in people. Now, the backside might be a little bit more, but it's not that much more. These people are not getting, you're not getting hit by a 45, right?
Listen,
but
if you want to believe that the president got shot, I am not going to argue with you. Matter of fact, the president had an assassination attempt. That is the official account of the government, and the government put out a corresponding report that agreed with the assessment that the president had an attempted assassination. So I will leave it at that because we absolutely know. One thing we know about our government is they will never, ever lie when it comes to.
So you think what Trump did was, what's it in wrestling when the bad guy, the Kofif, is that what it's called? Something like that.
I told you when it was. I said I said that photo op of him with his fist raised with blood dripping from his ear won him the election.
Oh, for sure. But you think he went down and nicked his own ear and cut his own ear at the bottom of the pile with a razor blade, like a la Hulk Hogan or whoever?
No, he don't have a pause for that. I don't know what happened.
Oh, so somebody else nicked him.
No, I don't know what happened. I just know he didn't get shot. We can't. In my own, and I don't know, I haven't unpacked my tinfoil hat. This is going to be this. You can file this along with the 9/11s and the whatever, right? But it was a perfect opportunity to strengthen a campaign that was losing steam and to reinvigorate it, and it worked for what it was. And then they ran it back because you had to consistently keep the threat that he's the most dangerous man. So then we run it back a couple of weeks later. Oh, there's a guy sleeping in the bushes with a rifle outside of Mar-a-Lago. He was attacking him. Now, mind you, you haven't heard anything else from either one of those cases, right? But that's how these things work. And I'm cool with it because it was a smart play.
Well,
didn't you men were there.
But didn't you originally make the argument that it was somebody who shot and that was just a really good shot through the ear? Was that not you? No. Okay, somebody else.
If you got through the ear, there would be a noticeable hole. There would be a noticeable hole in his ear, right? Even if you put skin on it, right? Even if you put skin to cover the hole, there would still be noticeable scars from the reconstruction, unless you just got the world's best plastic surgeon. Like
Well,
I
yeah,
said,
of course you would have the world's best plastic surgeon.
It's one of them things where I think it's going to go down as another one of those 9/11 things where who was responsible we'll never know. But we got the fall man, right? The dude that shot got killed, and that's how it works, man. That is how it works. I'm upset.
I do agree with you on part of that they're I don't know if the fall man necessarily, but they killed somebody, and I don't buy conspiracy theories that get too large, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? And it's one thing to keep a conspiracy nice and short, and there's just a couple people. It's like 9/11. I don't think that 9/11 works either, because of how many people that would have had to have been involved. I mean, you're talking about literally hundreds of people involved to get the what's his name? Jesse Ventura. You have to understand, brother, the Simtex, they laced the Simtex paint.
So all of that's way too deep in the bushes. But I will be naive to sit back and say that our government will not turn a blind eye to something nefarious just to drum up patriotic support. Call me whatever, but we've seen too many things for me to sit back and be like, oh no, the government would never.
Like, no, but the trouble with that theory is that the government set that up to put Trump into place. Do you actually think the government helped Trump get in? Like, to me, that's crazy to me.
Why would that be crazy?
Because I don't think there's. Well, I don't think.
Here's the thing: Trump is the most gullible president we've ever had, right? Ever had. By far, it's not even close. Not even close in terms of gullibility. Trump weighs his topic. He has no direct focus. Everything he does is influenced by somebody else. Like he has no morals, dude. I would probably trust Lindsey. No, I lied. I couldn't trust Lindsey Graham to breathe in and out.
Right.
But Trump is a product. He's little Debbie, right? Like every. Let me caveat that by saying every president is a puppet, right? Every POTUS. Trump is just so brazenly naive that he believes that he's actually the one pulling the strings. And they can use a useful idiot like that.
Is it possible that Trump is in that group, though? I mean, no, I don't know. I don't know if he is either.
Well, let me ask you this.
Necessarily think so.
Is Trump a racist? Do you think Trump's racist?
No, because of I think Trump was labeled a racist. Okay, let me rephrase. Trump doesn't worry about race as long as he's getting green.
I concur. Trump doesn't like poor people.
No, Trump likes to be rich. I don't know if he cares at all about poor people.
Like, so even in his times in New York, right, when he was, slumlording it up or whatever, right, his thing was never black or white. It was taking advantage of those less fortunate for his financial gain. That's his MO, man. He takes it's been his MO for his entire year. You can't fault a person for doing it. Like people, I got into a heated discussion with a friend of mine about me hating Trump. And I told him, I said, I don't care about Trump. I don't care. There's a reason why I normally don't call presidents by their name, because they're just a number. They're no different than Chester Cheetah, or Tony the Tiger, or Little Debbie. They are the face on the package. The people in the administration that are calling the shots, those are the people you should be worried about, right? Was George Bush HW? Was George HW a bad man? No. But his VP, that was an evil son of a bitch. And because Cheney was so evil, he put us in a lot of turmoil. That whole GY, that wasn't GW's thing. That was Cheney's thing. Cheney organized it. So you got to be careful when you try to attach those labels to president, because POTUSes they don't pull fucking strings. They don't. They should wear NASCAR. Like I said, they should wear NASCAR jackets. They're just sponsors, man. And I'm frustrated with the discourse between left and right, as if, you know, putting in a blue president will be any better, because it would. It's the same thing. It's just the whole system. And I'm sure at one point, you know, Trump had all these ideals, and, you know, he went in there bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, just like every fucking lieutenant. You know, I'm gonna go change the world as soon as I get in there. And then you quickly realize that the system is made to either get down or lay down. And once he was faced with those options, it was like, all right, well, let me make sure my family's straight and the people I'm close to, and good luck to everybody else. So then you get the Tom Hallmans, you get the what's the little nerdy dude that comes on, Stephen Millers. You get those guys, right? Those gentlemen, right, with their ideals and their zest for purity, and that's how you end up with this kind of turmoil. And you have the president sitting there, you know, one minute he's for this, the next minute, you know, next week he got to come back and be like, oh no, I didn't mean to say that. You know, you got a bunch of useful idiots in cabinet positions. You got Pam Bundy, who will sit there and try to lie to your face and say, oh, I didn't say what you saw me say on camera. What I meant to say was I had everything on my desk. So I wasn't talking about this. Like, it's to the point where people have allowed themselves, both left and right, and it's an epidemic at this point. We have gotten into such an idealistic tribalism that we have allowed ourselves to be disillusioned with any and everything. And it's frustrating, man. It's just, at the end of the day, you just like, man, all right, Jesus, whatever, do whatever. If this is Revelations, then man, go on and watch it, because there's no coming back from this, man. It's rough.
Well, there's two things you said there that come into play. Pam Bondi, useful idiots. So Pam Bondi comes out and says, oh yeah, I've got all the Epstein files on my desk. I've got them all. They're right there. Client list, all of it. And then they turn around and go, oh no, there's no client list. And then when she's asked about it by Peter Doocy for Fox News or CNN or MSNBC, the White House, whoever it is that gets indignant. Oh, no, that's not what she said. And I'm with you. It's like I've seen and this is not new. This is definitely not new just to the Trump White House. This happened with the Biden. Peter Doocy was like, I like the fact that Peter Doocy's actually gotten on Trump's press secretary several times as well.
Not just him. You see Tucker Carlson, and which is weird because now Tucker Carlson is like, he's like, when I find myself listening to and agreeing with Tucker Carlson on a consistent basis, that's how I realized that we are finally in bizarre world. Because it takes a lot for Tucker Carlson to flip, right? He was about as staunch a supporter as you could find when it came to President Trump. And for him to sit back and be like, well, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. Now, this is the first time he's done it. This is about the third or fourth time where he sat down and held the president to be like, hey, Mr. President, we support you, but that's bullshit and you know it. And it's getting to the point to where it's like, okay, cool. All the BS rhetoric on both sides aside, at what point do the American people see this for what it is, as a huge fucking grift? Excuse my language, but a huge grift. And they don't have the American public's interest at heart. They don't.
Well, never that's been something that we've been questioning now for half a century, right?
Right.
But the infighting is kind of funny because you have Dan Bongino, I think is how you say his name. He was a conservative.
Right.
Yeah, he was a Secret Service guy. He was on Hillary Clinton's detail and basically called her just an absolutely horrible person to work for. Everybody hated her. He kind of dropped the curtain to some degree on her. Not that everybody didn't already know, but he gave a platform to people to kind of say, hey, here's who she really is. And he was one of those that, oh, they're lying to you. The Biden administration absolutely lying. If anybody tells you that Epstein that he killed himself is just full of crap and don't trust him, and the list, blah, 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 blah. And then he comes out and he's like, oh, yeah, there's no list. Nope, there's no list. Nope, nothing to see here. And, I need to find, but Cheryl Atkinson, who I've mentioned, I love Cheryl Atkinson as a reporter. But she texted or tweeted a theory today that I thought was kind of interesting. Now, it's an interesting theory. Do I buy it? I don't know. Because, but it's an interesting theory. Now, one of the things you remember, Musk came out and he said, Trump is in the Epstein files, right? And everybody kind of went, well, yeah. But I mean, we already knew he was in the Epstein files because Mar-a-Lago and Epstein had come on and tried to recruit a towel girl who was of a prominent member, and Trump went and basically, according to the records, basically kicked Epstein out and said, hey, F you, dude. So of course he's in the file. So was Musk wrong when he said that? No, but I think he was implying something that isn't there. However, what Cheryl Atkinson said was, is it possible? Now, I know a lot of people go, yeah, deep state is just conspiracy theory, but there's a lot of people who do not want to actively work for Trump, didn't want to work for Trump in the first time, career people. And we saw what happened with like the Russia hoax, the fake files that were paid for by the Clinton campaign. Her theory was, and I don't think it was her theory, it was more, it really was kind of a, is this a reason? Is this a possibility? And it was, did the career intelligence operatives that were working on the Epstein file put so many false flags into the Epstein files that there would be no way to really get to the bottom of it? Because let's say, it's an interesting theory, right? So let's say, what do you think the client list is, KJ? The real client list? Because there's a client list. There's no doubt there's a client list, right? Does it run into the hundreds? Does it run into the thousands? Well, give me a number. What do you think it might be?
I would say hundreds. I don't know if it's gotten that, if it was that expansive to like the thousands, somebody would crack. But okay. There's some prominent high-level people on that list.
Okay. So the reason I say, I'm going to say 1,000, because even if you have, I could see easily being 2,000. And the reason I say that is Epstein, you might only have 50 or 100 really high-profile guys, ex-presidents, people related to the Crown of England, things like high-end,
man, like
high-end software creators, company, massive, serious CEOs of. So my point is, let's say you only have 50 of those people, and then you have another 250 that are in the next ring down, another 500 that are in the next ring down, right? So pretty soon you're down into people. It's like, look, if there's the mayor of Miami that's on the list, do we really care? Probably not. But let's say it's 1,000. And I think her point was, is it possible that the intelligence community then put in another like 3,000 names that are really kind of impossible to say one way or the other? And so because it's impossible to say one way or the other, of now you have a list of, let's say, 3,000 or 4,000 people, and there's no way you can really disprove this. You can't prove the negative on it. How do you prove, like, look, I wasn't there, and the legwork and all that? Was the list itself manipulated to a point that it couldn't be released? Also because, like you and I probably think is more likely, because the people that are on the list hurt both sides and both sides want to shut down. So I could see where it was manipulated so that, it's just too wide of a net. But I think it's more likely the reason it's not being released is it's probably split pretty evenly about who it would embarrass on the political aisle. And so everybody involved just kind of went, let's just say there's no list.
They did the Jedi mind trick. There is no list.
There is no list. There are no videos.
It's, the crazy thing about it, right? So you look at this timeline and everybody's like, oh, well, Trump and Biden had a chance to release the list. The Epstein was arrested when Trump was in the first time. I know what's her name went to jail doing Trump's first reign.
I think so. I'm not great on the Epstein timeline.
I know
I think it was actually behind that.
I know the case was during Trump's latter part of his term. The reason why I bring that up is that FBI director that was on Trump's team that was in charge of the Epstein files never got replaced. Biden used the same guy. So he was there the whole time. Let's call it 6-7 years. So they've had plenty of time to manipulate the shit out of that list, or whatever, black market and redacted. So Biden now, and I'm pretty sure by the time Trump got back into it this time, and then, what's his name? Patel and Bogdano got a hold of it. You got 7 years of the intelligence community whitewashing it. There's not much to release at this point. You know what I mean? You want to hear something crazy? Here's the timeline. You say 7 years? Yeah.
To July 2006, Epstein arrested after a grand jury indicts him of a single count of prostitution. 2007, federal prosecutions prepare an indictment against him. 2008, he pleads guilty to state charges, and that was when he was supposed to get off. 2009, he was released from jail. Let's see. And then jump ahead to November of 18, the Miami Herald basically reopened the case against Epstein. 19, he's arrested under federal trafficking laws. 2019 of August is when Epstein was found dead in his cell. It's already been 6 years since he found hanging in his wall with broken neck bones.
Sure. So if we go back, so that he did on his own, by the way, he pulled the Clinton.
Sure.
So you had 2 Obama terms, you had a Trump term, a Biden term, and then now another Trump term.
Yep.
You get what I'm saying? So at this point, like,
you can't separate the Kool-Aid from the sugar. Yeah.
Even if you got a list, how credible would it be? You know what I mean?
And I think that's kind of what Cheryl Atkinson was kind of saying is not only is it so much time, but if you throw dirt into the pile, how do you really separate what's actual wheat and what's actual chaff? Like, how much can you really tell what is legitimate and what isn't? And to me, that's a legit kind of a legitimate argument. I agree with your point that it's been too much time, it's been through the grinder too many times, and it's been shut down too many times. Like, I don't trust, and this is where people lose trust. I don't trust the FBI to do the job of investigation. Why? Well, it's not just because of the Epstein file. Let's throw a few more in there. We don't know about the Las Vegas shooter, the largest mass shooting in American history on U.S. soil, and we don't know anything about the guy. We don't know anything about the federal agents that shot the dude up in Oregon. We don't know, the truth about, you start getting into some of the stuff like JFK files and all that. Okay, fine. But like when you have the mass shooter in Las Vegas and we don't know how a dude fired 2,000 rounds from 3 different windows and, it's bump stock. Dude, you fire that many rounds, your weapon is melting. Like the number of rounds that were fired.
Yeah, you got to be switching barrels. There's no way.
And then he just killed himself. Nah, he did. When the response came, didn't the police show up at his hotel room like hours after the fact and he'd already killed himself? Like, if you're going to go out and you're going to commit this crime, you're either going out with a blaze of glory or you're just walking out the back door. Nobody knew where those shots were coming from, but we don't know anything about that.
But that like, if we, again, the partisan, washing is what's driving me nuts. But you sit back and the prime example, something that happened recently, the guy that killed the lawmakers in Minnesota.
Yeah.
He's not being charged.
What? I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, the administration.
I heard he was getting.
He's not being charged with terroristic something. So they're basically slapping him on the wrist. So it's like, at this point, does it really matter? Oh, you can see my boxes in the background. Let me sit up. So at this point, it's just kind of like, you gotta wait. I mean, we went a long way around it, but to bring it all back to the protest, there's nothing you can do, right? You got midterms in maybe a year and a half. You had an opportunity to balance out Congress, but then we talked about the ineffectuality of Congress over the last 6 sessions. It's all
okay.
Over.
Now, I don't disagree with that, but I'm going to push back a little bit on what you just said about the minutes. This is from PBS News, so definitely not right leaning. Okay,
sure.
And this is as of July 3rd, so within 10 days, right? It says the man charged with killing former Minnesota House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband, and wounding a state senator and his wife is due back in federal court Thursday for a hearing that was put on hold after his lawyer and his client were unable. The client said he was unable to sleep while on suicide watch. Oh, boo-hoo. The hearing is expected to address whether he should remain in custody without bail and affirm there's probable cause to proceed in the case. He's not expected to enter a plea. So it's so early on. That's the thing. I mean, stuff like that.
Early on, the charges. What is he charged with? See, pull up what he's charged with.
Let's see. Well, that's what I did put. I put Minnesota lawmaker killer charges. And
he killed
maybe it has it.
Sitting representatives, a state senator and attempted murder on a sitting rep.
Let's see. Voluminous writings. He has been charged with state and federal charges of murder, attempted murder, and other crimes. He's being held in federal custody. That was June 16th. I'm trying to find something a little more recent. That PBS one, July 3rd. Let me go back into that one and see if it says what and that's the thing. Like, wouldn't you think it'd be a little bit more up at the top about what the charges are?
With all this other crazy stuff that's going on, it's just kind of like, where are you gonna find the room for it? You know what I mean? Yo, Liberty's in the house. I think it was the terror charges, right? So
yeah, it's funny that
I think that's what they decided not to do. It's the terror charges.
So terror charges. Yeah. Okay. So that had something there. Throw that back up. I didn't see what it said.
Yeah.
What did that say? Stalking and murder, according to Justice website. Yeah. I mean, if he's convicted, I don't think Minnesota has a death penalty.
If that's not domestic terrorism, then what the hell is?
Well, depends on. Okay, so the definition of terrorism. What's the definition of terrorism? Which is doing something a violent act to scare a specific populace and or propaganda. Now, if this guy was doing it purposefully to get on the news and spread fear, yeah, great. Okay, charge him with terrorism. We still don't even know. Like, there was something in his car. We heard all about the No Kings protest, but he had flyers in the car. Well, what does that mean? Like, what did his writing say? What is the pages long diatribes? And that's one of the things that always bothers me is I get why they don't release it. But when you have these people like the Nashville shooter who was trans and they finally, went and found her excuse me, her writings and her diary and all that. You know, there was really some pretty hateful stuff in there, right? And they turned around and they're like, well, we're not going to release it because she's, you know, she's dead and fair trial, blah blah. And it's like, well, wait a minute, dude, she's dead. How are you going to get a fair list out of that, right? So at the same, and I think the Vegas didn't we originally hear something about the Vegas shooter that he had a manifesto as well, but I don't think that was ever released, was it?
Yeah, that never came out. So
yeah,
the reason I bring that up is, you remember when they were burning the Teslas a while ago, and they locked those kids up?
Which kids got locked up? No, I don't know about kids getting locked up.
The ones in California they caught on camera. It was I can't remember. It's like 3 or 4, right before ICE started doing their craziness. I
did not go into a lot. I know that a lot of the Teslas got burned and all that, but I didn't. To me, that's like state crime. I don't really get deep into who
they were charged with federal domestic terrorism. So I'm sitting back like, at a certain point, you have to just throw your hands up and realize and call it for what it is. Like, this is,
yeah.
You know, anything.
Well, no, I get your argument. But that's part of the problem with the whole system is, we've talked about this before. You can have 2 people that both go steal a car, and one gets charged with grand theft auto and the other one gets charged with joyriding. And it's like, right. Well, where's the consistency? What's the difference? And a lot of the times we don't know the reasons, and it can be as simple as the prosecutors involved, right? Who are the ones that are choosing to prosecute. And of course, I mean, you'd be a fool to say politics don't come into play. Of course, politics come into play. That's unfortunately, that's part of the name of the game, is the politics of all of this is completely inconsistent. You can have the same crime that happens under Biden be charged one way, and under Trump under completely different, or it can be charged under Trump and can be, you know, or charged under Biden and convicted under Biden and then pardoned by Trump. And you could have these, you know, you could have the same whoever the next one, let's say President AOC, as Greg Easterbrook likes to write now, President AOC, you know, might turn around.
That will scare the shit out of America. If that ever would have happened, America would literally, I don't know how, but the earth would literally take a dump on itself if that was happening. I think that's why he writes it like that. It's just it's a bit of a tongue in cheek. But like, realistically, you know, if there's something that happens around 2027 and some riot or something or other, and they're convicted, you could turn around and have it, you know, pardoned then. It's so weird. Liberty makes a great point. Go ahead and throw that up. There are so many different things that happen and so many different shootings. Yeah. Like, does the Chicago DA charge? I know over 4th of July, there were 8 people that were shot and killed in Chicago. And so what gets charged, what doesn't? Are crimes the same? Like, does it really matter? Like, I love South Park when they made the whole thing about hate crimes, because it was like, hate crime, it's a hate crime. And they're like, what do you mean it's a hate crime? That's just, they did something wrong. It's like, well, no, that's a hate crime. And it's like, no, well, yeah. Liberty says there's 50 who are killed on average that are shot. Yes, but not die. They don't always die. We talk about that all the time, but
yeah, we do talk about that quite a bit.
At the end of the day, it's like, all right, cool. Chicago, people are killing each other in Chicago. Guess what? I don't know if you heard about it, but mobsters been killing people in Chicago for over 100 years. Where was no outrage when mobsters were running the streets and the victims were.
No, don't say that, because there actually was a lot of outrage back then.
The only outrage was when they started targeting the politicians. When they were attacking the streets and running the streets and paying off the cops, they did not.
It was more, as long as they're shooting each other, nobody cares that much. Like, if gangsters are, But when it starts going out into the population, it didn't matter if Al Capone was in a shooting. If it killed a baby, Al Capone would have been seen as a absolute villain. But it's one of those things that, yeah, I mean, I think that's very similar. Like, people don't really care about Chicago right now because most of it's gang violence.
It's the same thing. Same thing like when New York had the gang violence in the 70s and 80s when the factions were warring. It didn't make national news, right? But what did make national news was the crack epidemic. Like I said, it's all propaganda, and it's all depending on the lens in which you watch it. I am so fed up with the bullshit. It's just I'm indoctrinated with it constantly, and it's just like, all right, like nobody's willing to call a spade a spade. Like, there is some. What do you mean? I just told you. Yeah, I just told you. If they were white, they were white. Nobody gives a shit.
But KJ, you just said call a spade a spade. That's racist. Haven't you heard? Yeah, apparently.
Like I said, racism and wokeism is the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, my understanding of a call a spade was always, it's the difference between a shovel and a spade. A spade is rounded and you use that to dig the hole, and a shovel is square and they're different tools. Like, growing up, that's what I always thought it was. I didn't realize spade was a potential, racial slur until I was probably in my mid-20s.
Are not disproportionately impacted by shootings in this country. That's why I don't have compassion, since that's fucking false narrative. That's like asking me to have compassion for the Martians who are hanging out in the damn ocean. It doesn't exist. There's unfounded amounts of data that have proven this time and time again. You can't have compassion for shit that don't exist, man.
It's poor people. Socioeconomic.
I get it, man. I get it. It sounds great. Oh, they're killing people in Chicago. Well, shit, so is fentanyl. Fentanyl's killing a lot more fucking people, right? But nobody gives a shit about fentanyl, and it's not making the news, right? You don't hear people coming on. Well, what about the 60 people that died from fentanyl overdoses last week in Iowa or in Wyoming? You don't hear that. You know why you don't hear that? Because that doesn't fit the narrative, man. Let's not. I am not in a mood today. I am not in the mood today to sugarcoat and pussyfoot around, right? So I'm just giving you fair warning. Don't come with the bullshit. Come with the facts, because that's bullshit. Trump don't give a shit about fentanyl. What has Trump did about fentanyl? What has Trump did about fentanyl? Nothing. Trump cares about his pocket, bro. We got it. And that's what pisses me off about the American populace. We are being robbed blind by an administration who blatantly doesn't give a shit. I have never seen in my history, and you can go back and you go back. Well, I take that back, because Reagan did it in the 80s. He raped the shit out of the country, and then everybody called it Reaganomics, and then it screwed the country up for 30 years. But we're seeing a rehashing of history. It's the same thing. The grifters. No, it's not.
So, KJ, let me ask you something here, though. Okay, the whole thing with Reagan's. I've heard this as well. Reaganomics was a big scam and it killed the country. Blah 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 blah. But if you go look at the GDP has continued to go up. This country is the richest country on earth, continues to be the richest country on earth, one of the richest. I don't want anybody saying, no, we're not. We're right behind, Switzerland or whatever. But my point is
it really though? Let's take it in pieces, because people do that a lot, right? They say, oh, well, the country, the GDP, which is great, right? Let's look at America in the early 90s. Where were we economically? Before Clinton, where were we economically? Go look at it. You had a decade of downturn. You had expenses going up. Reagan destroyed the collegiate system, right? He destroyed the inner cities, damn near crippled them to the point to where they couldn't recover, right? And we reduced the tax rate. Everything from the 60s, from the 50s and 60s, that helped put the country in a position of prosperity was destroyed in the 80s. It was recovered in the 90s, got destroyed by GWAT in the 2000s, and recovered by Obama in the late 2010s, and now we're on that same cycle and that same pattern all over again.
I'm trying to pull up the graph.
Oh my fucking God. What is with you in the inner cities, man? No, guy. No. Democratic leaders don't run the fucking city. What are you talking about? None of this is fucking true.
He's saying that of the 50 largest cities in America, yeah, like 49 of them have Democrats as the mayor. So
okay, who runs the state though? Who runs the state? Who controls the funding for the state? I'll give you a prime example. We're in the state of Georgia. You have a black mayor in Augusta. How much power does he have? How much, Lance? How much power? How much power does?
I don't know. You think I pay attention to that crap? By the way, here's the long-term growth in America, and you can see it goes right up the line. And there's really 82. There was a tiny bit of a downturn right there in 82. The 87 stock crash reset a tiny bit, and then there's the internet stock bubble, and it goes up, and then we hit 2009, had a downturn, but I'm guessing after 2009 it started going right back up too. So the whole thing of Reaganomics ruined the country. No, it didn't. It just didn't.
It absolutely did. By every metric. By every.
I just showed you the metric. I just showed you the GDP.
No, you showed me the GDP, but you didn't go by year. What you showed was the dip, the effects of Reaganomics, and then you saw that Clinton recovered it in the 90s, which caused it to go back up.
Didn't you just see? Did you not see it just?
So the
hold on. Let me throw that back up there again. Let me throw it back up there again.
Pull it back up.
Hold on. There it is again. Okay. So when I go like this, can you see my arrow moving?
Yeah. 82. Okay.
82. So here's 1960. Look over here. 1960 goes right up. Yeah. 1980. It's right there. Actually, 80 is about right there. There's the line for 1980. There's the dip in 82. Okay. And then there's a jump right back up. That's 80, 85. We go up to 87 and have a little bloop, the stock market crash in 87, which Reaganomics, you could say, created a bubble. I would say, yeah, that happens, but we're in the middle of a bubble right now. Wait till the next one goes. And it goes up here, and then there's the internet stock bubble. Okay, great. And that's why it jumped as high as it did. But where in here's the 30 of these 30 years that so, I mean, it's just going up and up and up. When Reagan came in, which was about right here, the GDP was somewhere around 26,000. I think that's a good guess right there. And by the time Reagan got out right here, it had gone up to 30-ish, 31, 32,000. And since 32,000, then we go through to the middle of Obama's term, and we're up to 40. And GDP today, I'm not going to make you watch that while I'm going to turn that off. Let's see. GDP, let's see. Most recent GDP. GDP rate in the U.S. Let's see if that's got a good one. Oh, don't do that. Yeah, except I hate it when it wants it to have cookies. Well, that's anticipated, but okay, I'll show you here. Bloop. Okay, wrong one. That's not the one I want to show. It's hold on. It is share screen. See, I'm getting used to this share screen. I've only done this like once before. Okay, so you can let me see. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so this again is longer. 87. Here's 87. So there's the end of Reagan. Okay, GDP of the U.S. in billions of dollars, right? Okay.
No. So Reagan in 88, didn't he? Because you had
Reagan left. Yeah, Reagan left in 88. So there's 88. 5.236. So $5.236 trillion. And now up here, we're at 2007. Let's go to 2005, which is 24. There's 25. This year estimated $30 trillion. So Reaganomics did so badly that it just kept going up and up and up and up and up. Now there's a little dip right when the recession started. George W. Bush was coming out of office, which, by the way, was a perfect time for Obama to come in because it was a good time, meaning like the economy went down, and by the economy going down, it actually really hurt the Republicans in that. Well, it didn't. It not only the economy, but frickin' it was John McCain. That didn't help either.
If we had to just look at GDP, right, and say, oh well, we're doing better because our GDP has currently rised, right, over the last 30 years, and that had no effect to it. That's the ultimate measure. Then we are grossly overstating the effects of economics, right? We didn't take into the account of the tax rate. We didn't take into account the exploding debt that also went up with the GDP. So if I make $100,000, right, and I get a raise for $100,000, so now I'm making $200,000, but I have $150,000 of debt.
Okay,
I'm not profiting $200,000. I'm profiting.
There you go.
More,
yeah,
but I'm not.
And this is what, and this is what Thad was just asking for. So here's the real median, right? So you go in 86. There's Reagan out 63,000. Okay, Clinton comes in. It drops all the way.
It doesn't come in until 92.
Okay. Oh, you're right. But Clinton comes in. It's back down.
Saves the economy.
Oh, the internet saved the economy, but sure. And don't get me wrong. Hey, I'll tell you right now, Clinton. Good job, Clinton. He did a good job.
The internet balanced the budget too.
Yeah, the internet boom absolutely did. That was a huge part of it. That said, hey, I'll give him props. Okay, so Clinton was 92 until 2000, right? Okay, so there's 70,000. There's Bush for his. And then here's Obama coming in, right? Obama comes in here, and he caught the last part of the Bush recession, which that's the start of the Bush recession. And you can argue, okay, well, that's on Bush, but I don't know if you necessarily argue all the way to 2011 or 12 is Bush necessarily. But I also don't look at this and say, all right, well, here's Trump in 2016. And so I give Trump all the credit. I'm just saying, I don't think it's all the president. I never have.
It's the cause and effect, though, right? Do we say, okay, well, Reagan got out in 88, so everything he did for that 8-year term.
No, ended. I look at this right here. Okay, so Reagan got out in 88. I'm a firm believer that what the president's policies, et cetera, do echo for about the next 5 to 8 years. So if you want to say this part is on Reagan, fine, you can do that. But then you don't get to claim this part as solely Clinton, because then that would be the echo of George W.
That's fine. But you can't. But George W. and Clinton had two vastly different economic policies.
Well, sure.
So it wouldn't. So you couldn't say, all right. So you can't say that. When you can't say that Bush 1 gets credit when his policy was just a continuation of the Reagan policy.
Well, I don't think they're exactly, but yes, there's some.
They're more similar in policy than they are than Bush and Clinton.
Okay. Well, yeah, but then you're still making my argument, because what I'm saying, look, if it echoes after the fact, then you're actually pushing to here. This is the start of the the Reagan and Bush, but then you'd say, okay, well, this is still Bush's policies up to here, and we're back to above where we were.
So
look at where we're at. Okay, this is 2023, right? 2023 median household income. Now I understand inflation and all that. That $80,000 is inflated a little bit. And we can go back and we can look and say, what's the difference between today's dollars and this is not seasonally adjusted and all that stuff. But I think it's very, very difficult to argue in any real way that we aren't better off as a country economically as a whole. Now, that's not to say that people don't have challenges and there aren't people that are struggling, and there always will be. And it doesn't matter if you're white, black, there's always going to be poor people and there's always going to be rich people, right? But part of that to me also comes down to when we're talking about these things, the president has some influence, they have some policies, but you're also talking about global economy. I think one of the biggest drivers that you see right now in the world is the energy resources. Do I think that any president should be given like the, hey, you did a great job with the economy because the private sector went in and figured out a great way on how to frack and get into the natural gas that this country has? No. Now, you could say policy-wise, like I've seen stuff that says one of the reasons that, wait, go back to, what was that one? He's uncomfortable. Oh, man.
Stop with the fact now.
Yeah. So
we've learned are very subjective, but go ahead.
Yeah. Well, and I've seen an argument that said, I think it was actually Greg Easterbrook. I think he made the argument one of the reasons that Harris lost Pennsylvania is because of her. She's against fracking. She's not against fracking, and she's fine with fracking. And the people of Pennsylvania didn't believe her. That's his opinion. Great. But like realistically, I think that when we look at this country, and it's not just this country, it's the world, right? When you look at the world today, and especially this country, I don't think it's any stretch to say that this is the most glorious economic time to be alive in the history of the world. Like
No, I don't disagree with that. I think that's fine. But I mean, we gotta be honest with ourselves though, right? The dollar is worth less now than it was then, right? Our percentage of GDP to debt is 3 times higher now was then.
Hey man, I am with you on the debt thing.
I got you. But what I'm saying is, that again, it goes back to my analogy. Just because wages are higher and people are making $25 an hour, which is great, but that $25 an hour now is equivalent to making $6 an hour in 1980. That's going backwards. That's not the same. I don't know if those numbers are real. I'm just giving you an example.
Yeah. But it's okay. So here's part of the problem with that argument too, though. Okay, is when we talk about those things, if you look at real world things. Okay, so the number of and I get it. People say, like housing, right? This argument that a single, a family could raise your grandfather could raise his 2 kids. And his wife didn't have to work in the 50s, and they could go buy a house and do it on one income, right? And that's just not possible today. Well, let's look at part of the problem with that. Today, people aren't going out and buying starter houses the same way. A. B, you have corporations who are going in and buying all the new builds so they can rent the houses out, right? Even right now, even if we wanted to move, my wife and I have talked about, do we want to move to Utah? Do we want to move here? Do we want to go there? Right. And one of the things that is a big part of our decision is the house we're in right now. We bought just over 3.5 years ago. And we're at like a 3.2 interest rate, I think. The interest rates right now are like 6.5%. Okay. Sure. And now there's all these different variables. What's the dollar worth? What does it cost to buy a loaf of bread? How many hours? And one of the things, even when you say being able to do A costs this number of hours, B, it doesn't always work because, you want to go out and buy a brand new, the top of the line TV in 1980, and it would have taken you 30 hours of average, whatever the average hourly rate. It would have taken you 30 hours to buy a brand new TV. Well, today, it only takes you 14 hours to buy a brand new top of the line TV. But there's a few things with that. The prices of the TV have gone down, but the quality have also gone up because you look at you can go buy a brand new, like I saw at Costco, a 65-inch plasma TV for $496.
But here's the
which
thing,
is just insane.
When you bought that TV in the 60s, that was your TV, right? And that TV lasted forever. Now you're switching out TVs every 8 or 9, 10 years. So
But part of that is because of disposable income too, though. It's not just because it breaks. Like I have TVs in this house that are probably obsolete because they're close to 10 years old.
well, that too. I'll give you that. I'll buy that for $1. But so what I want to say is in the 50s and 60s, right? There was, and I'm not, I'm not for, overly taxing corporations or whatever, but we got to, there's something to be said that the tax rate then for citizens and corporations were a lot more aligned with prosperity than they have been over the last 30 years. I think the tax rate between the 40s and 60s hovered somewhere anywhere between 55 and 75% for corporate tax rate.
I am looking it up right now. Here you go.
And
go to that.
I think something in the 80s, it got slashed down to 30%. And then in the 90s, it got slashed down to 26. And then the 2000s, I think we got it down to like 22 or 20, somewhere around there.
Here's the corporate tax rate. So so it's never been corporate tax, income tax as share of GDP.
Yeah, as share of GDP.
So that's not the exact tax rate, but 82 it was low, 2009 it was low. That's not a great graph.
So essentially what I'm saying is there is something to be said, and I'm not for billionaires taking billionaires' money and all that stuff. I actually believe in capitalism. Like, hey, if you earned it, if you came up with the idea and people are willing to pay you for it, charge whatever the hell you want for it, right? But you can't you can't turn back around and say, oh, well, the reason you're poor is because it's your fault. No, that's not true. It's just not true. We have empirical data that proves that's not true.
Well, it's also not untrue, if that makes sense. So here's the effective corporate tax rate. So 1953 and 55, it was well over 50%, and it's been consistently going down. There was the jump under Obama, and then it dropped, but then it immediately dropped back down. So, we're pretty low. But my understanding is we're still we're not super low compared to the world. We're not great. We're kind of middle of the road, if I remember my economics recently. But you're not wrong in that if you're born poor, the odds are you are going to stay poor. And if you're born rich, the odds are you're going to stay rich. Yeah, I'll give you that. At the same time, I think the system is set up that if you have an idea and you're able to take advantage of that idea, this is a country that you can make as much as you want. And I saw somebody, they were like, the 8 richest people in the world have more money than the bottom, 40% of the world or whatever it was. And so poor people are not, but the argument was poor people are not the reason that you're poor. And it's like, those 8 people who make all that money also aren't the reason you're poor, though. Like the way the economy works, the economy is a giant, massive cherry pie that is always being baked and always being replaced. And you can go in and dig out as much of that cherry pie as you want. And there will always be more. And there's nothing that, if Bill Gates is worth $80 billion, he has not stolen 1 penny from me. He doesn't have any of my cherry pie, right? Now, the only person that has stolen money from me is the federal government in taxes. If you subscribe to taxation as theft. And there's some arguments to that. I am against excessive taxes because of how they work. Like, I am fine with taxation for specific things. I think if you're going to have a tax for roads and infrastructure, then there should be a tax on gasoline, and that pays for roads and infrastructure. Not, oh, hey, we've got extra money over here from the gasoline tax, so we're going to use that to, do whatever. We're going to give a cut to this, or a museum for toilets for that, or whatever pork project happens to come in. It's also the reason I think there should be a line item veto, and I think budgetary concerns should be. I'll tell you, KG, I think you can get behind this. No, I'm serious, because I don't think we've ever talked about this. We both have problems with how the system is set up. We both have problems with how the votes go. We have problems with how the laws are written. One of the biggest problems, and we can talk about the big, beautiful bill if we want. This goes right along with it. I think that we need to get away from these big bills. We need to have bills. I think maybe if you really wanted to fix this country, maybe every law has to be like limited. And you can say you can have no more than 50 pages to any given law. And even 50 pages, I think, could be a lot, right? But it would cut down. But certain things you do have to have more than 50. I get it. The budget is going to be a big freaking beast. That said, maybe even say outside of budgetary, but even the budget. I think then if you're going to do that, then the budget should have a line item veto, which unfortunately the Supreme Court found to be unconstitutional decades ago. Maybe the current Supreme, I don't know what the makeup was when the Supreme Court ruled on that 20 odd years ago. Maybe the current court would have a different view on that. But would you support something like that, where there should be non-budgetary laws need to be less than whatever X is, the negotiated number of pages?
I'll take you one step further. What is Congress's purpose? What do we send representatives to Congress to do?
To represent the will of their constituents.
So why are they signing bills that's 10, 15, 20 years? I think you should only, as an administrator, as the chief administrator, as the POTUS, you should only allow your policies to be in effect for you. So Congress has to go to work anyway. That's what we pay them for. They need to vote. They're not going to work on, I saw the last 3 Congresses averaged 120 something days in a calendar year for voting. Why? What are we paying you for? And you keep getting raises. Your job is to legislate.
They keep getting raises. They keep getting raises because they vote themselves raises.
That's what I'm saying. So if you're gonna do a budget bill, if you're gonna do stuff like that, then they should only be limited to your rank. 4 years.
Liberty, who are you talking about there? Because I'm all for tax cuts. I personally, I'm a fan of a fair tax. 100-year bond. Hey, 100-year bonds, man. Yeah, you gotta do something.
It makes no sense to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, why?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Liberty. We've had many. Okay. But Liberty and KG and I have had many arguments about the Nancy Pelosi rule, and there should absolutely be a Nancy Pelosi rule, and that Congress should be held just as accountable to the insider trading laws as anybody else.
But I think a lot of, to be honest with you, I think a lot of our issues don't even stem with the administration, the executive branch, or the judicial branch. If we can just get Congress to
do their damn jobs,
that's it. Like, everything starts and ends with Congress. If we can get our senators to do their job and our representatives to do their job, a lot of this menial shit will take care of itself, right? If they were honest with themselves, they would say, hey, it's our job to pass a budget, right? If we don't do our job, what happens if you don't do your job? Then you get fired. So if you can't pass a budget, you should not be eligible for re-election. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, that's well, and there's definitely things. I think the average American, if we were able to go on and vote on constitutional amendments, I think the American people would vote for a balanced budget amendment. I think they would vote on an amendment that said Congress shall be subject to the same laws as everybody else. like they don't get any free passes, right?
We'll never get that.
No, I'm just saying, like you and me, Constitution. If we were talking, I think that the American people would pass a term limit. I really think we would pass term limits if it was voted on by the American people. Let's see. Do we have any? Those are kind of the three. I think there was another we've talked about in the past. I don't remember what it was, but there are definitely some things that we kind of all agree on. And until we have trustworthy people that go to Congress and don't get eaten up by the machine,
we don't even need trustworthy people. We just need you to. It's A or B. Do your job, and we'll eventually the system will flush itself out.
But it doesn't.
That's what I'm saying.
But you've got, how long has Lindsey Graham been in?
That's what I'm saying. People aren't
or Nancy Pelosi.
They're not allowed to. They get there and they grift and they suck off the tit of the economy until they're satisfied, and then they just put the next dozer in there for the next 40 years to do the same damn thing. What entitlements are you talking about, Liberty? Because most entitlements by the government are self-funded. So what entitlements? I'm curious to know, what entitlements are you referring to?
Well, Medicare and Medicaid are not self-funded. Social Security is not self-funded necessarily. It kind of is. I'll tell you what, we both agree that hold on, let me finish. We both agree that Social Security would not be in the position it is if it hadn't been funneled off and given to other people because they need it for budgetary. Yeah.
But that's what you were just talking about when in terms of taxes. Like, this money is for this money. And had they just left it alone, Social Security would be able to fund generations as intended. But because we tricked off all our money in the 90s and the 2000s, we're broke. And now everybody's like, oh, well, now we don't have any money. Well, where the hell our money go? You kept taking it. So you give me back what you owe me. I would be perfectly fine if they passed the bill and said, okay, based off of your work history and your W-2 history, you put in this amount of money for Social Security. We're going to write a check to every American based off of the money that they put in. And after that, it's on you.
You know why that wouldn't work? You know why it wouldn't be voted on? Well, hold on. What you would have is you would have a lot of people who don't have any savings. You have those people who were on the lower end of the wage scale. They would freak out going, what do you mean I only get $6,000 a year? You know what I mean? So like, they look at it right now and look, I get it. I think there's some stuff in there. I think that we make mistakes with certain things. I think that if you make above, I don't know, $1 million a year, you shouldn't get Social Security and you should still pay in. Yeah, you should be paying in. That's something I'm okay with. Thad has one on there. He said PAC money. I don't know if you'd get the majority of people who said PAC would not be something that would be voted for or against. That would be an interesting one. I think too many people. I assume that's what he means is get PAC. He thinks that there would be we could pass a constitutional amendment to get PAC money out of politics. I don't know. I don't think it would pass simply because most people don't really know what PAC money is and how it's used and how slimy and dirty it can be and how it's manipulated too. Like, if anybody believes that the Biden PAC or the Trump PAC weren't actually coordinating to some degree with the actual campaigns, there's a couple bridges that we can sell you in Brooklyn. So there's things that just don't really make sense. But I think that I was looking that up actually a couple of days ago. The legislatures, you need 34 legislatures to come to the table for a constitutional Congress. And right now, Republicans have 30 and the Democrats have 20. I'm kind of, I don't know why it has to be that it would be a Republican or a Democrat thing to have a constitutional Congress. Would it be such a bad, I don't know when the last one was. It can't have been any time recently.
Oh God, I can only imagine when the last constitutional was.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like it sounds like one of them things you would do every 75 years or so.
Or maybe schedule it for every 50 years.
Yeah, like hey, we should, as society evolves and grows, we should probably relook these things,
So
every couple of years.
So the 27th Amendment was the last one, and that was in 92. And the last Constitutional Convention was in, you want to guess?
1835 or 75, somewhere around there.
1787. It was the original ones.
Lord, you giving them?
They haven't even had one. Yeah. Oh, I'm with you. I think you could have a constitutional convention every, let's say every 32 years, right? That would be how many president? That's 38 every 8 presidential terms. That seems like a pretty good number, right? I guess outside you could go 8 every 32 years. Because if you went every 10 presidential terms, that would be every 40 years. I could go with that just because it's a round number. But I could see something like that. Or worst comes to worst, because we're almost up. We had the bicentennial in 1976. We're in the bicentennial and a half, the 250th anniversary here in 2026. So maybe you go every 50 years. I think that
every 40 to 50 years is a sweet spot where we can agree. So here's the thing. The way you don't pollute this is you get equal number of delegates from every state, right? You have to, because if you don't, you'll have Texas and California and New York kind of just bullying their way into the representation. Like I would take Congress completely out of it. I would get 25 representatives on the blue side, 25 representatives on the red side. I will lock them in a building in Philadelphia only for the nostalgia. And I will let them battle it out until they figured it out. And they'll come back and say, okay, cool. These are the amendments we proposed. We propose taking these amendments out because they no longer exist. We propose adding these amendments because these amendments make sense. And then what that does is that allows you an opportunity to adjust your country based on societal growth, right? So we're not having these arguments.
What if you did it like the Hall of Fames, like the NFL, MLB, the Hall of Fames, and you said, we're going to have the American people vote on. Now, listen, no, hold on. Let me go.
This is good. No, I like this.
We're going to have the American people every election cycle. We're going to have the American people vote, or maybe before it. Let's say, okay, where are we going to establish our constitutional convention? Every 20 years, 32 years, 40 years, or 50? Me and you.
Do that 50. That way it's balanced, and we're setting it in Philadelphia.
See, I would go less than that though, simply because now you're talking about generational. 50 is almost. So 50 is 2 full generations. So maybe 25.
I like 32. You like 32 because that put us at 8, right?
I'd go at 20. I'd go 28. I'd go 28 simply because 28 is closer to a generational number, right? Now it's every generation, right?
Yeah,
okay.
I get it. Yep.
So let's go 20. So before and the other thing this would do is before that 28th year, the midterm elections of 26. This is when we're going to vote, and you have a list of however many possible that you have, right? And then so the American people vote, and then you have the top 10, and the top 10 go to the committee you just said. Now, how are we going to do the committee? You roll the bones, and you've got 25 governors from each side, or whoever people you want to, or the blue side wants to elect 25 delegates to go in and represent them. 25 for the others, and then you have a fan vote, and so
like the All-Star game,
right? The All-Star game. So you have 25 blue, You have 25 red, and now you have roll the dice. Who wants to be a delegate? Now, this is where we're going to have our civics test. So we've talked about voting. You have to have a civics test. But anybody who wants to go online and apply to be part of the Constitutional Convention goes in, and they have to hit certain requirements. They have to be They have to be above let's say a 90 IQ, which is above, retardation, but it's not super genius level. It's not brain, Pinky the brain. It's above Pinky, below the brain, right? Okay.
That's amazing.
So then you have the hopper goes through everybody online who wants to do it. They can go in. You have to pass a civics test. You have to have a certain level of general knowledge, a Jeopardy round. You have to have a IQ test. You have to have a cognitive test, and you have to have an emotional intelligence test. Now, yes, that's a lot of stuff to go through, but you have 330 million Americans right now. I'll bet you can come up with 10,000 that want to be part of this. Out of those 10,000, you roll the bones, do it in the hopper, make it a big announcement. Here's the 25 people from South Carolina. It's KJ Bradley. KJ Bradley was born in blah, blah. Here's your bio, right? Okay. From wherever. And you do the list. So here's your 25. Here's the blue team. They're going to have their 25. And here's the red team. And they're going to get together, and they have to pass at least one constitutional amendment out of those 10, but no more than 6. And they go into the room, like you said, we could negotiate the numbers, like 2 or 2 and 6, whatever. Maybe you have to pass 2 because, again, generational. Yeah. But you have a minimum, because even though the All-Star game or the Hall of Fame, you can have 0 get in, which is really lame. Nobody wants 0 Hall of Fame that year.
Right.
It can happen, but it generally doesn't. So let's say there has to be at least 2 of those amendments to get passed, and there have to be no more than 6. And you can have a wild card.
Whether you're adding or taking away.
Wild card is 7. You can take 1 away and it not go against the 6.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think that actually works. That is a productive way, because what that does is that doesn't give any side an unfair advantage to governorship. And it gets all these 80 and 70, 80, 90-year-old people out of the government.
Hey, we must be doing something right. If Thad says he's on board with what I'm saying.
He's like, that's actually pretty good. No, that is actually not bad, man.
When I'm king.
Right, well, listen, we have such a transformational administration. Maybe you can pitch that to one of the
to get that pitch, though, I have to really become a MAGA influencer, and I have to start saying for the next 2 years how great I think Trump is, and that Trump can do no wrong, and that's his real hairline, and he's never had any.
Spend a couple of million to get his ear at dinner.
So, oh my gosh, yeah, that's right.
But no, that is absolutely brilliant. I think we have finally cracked the code. It took us 3 years, but we have finally cracked the code on how to rebuild the nation.
Well, I think we've come up with some pretty good ideas, though. This one, I do like this one. So I think what we need to do, you and I need to start the 2 POGs Substack, and we need to write this up. We need to transcribe this and put it up on the Substack. I have a couple ideas for you and I on Substack also or for me. But don't these guys, don't worry about Salmon Fish and Serafina.
Hey,
those
guys came in they're from last week, right?
Yeah, from last week. Yeah, some of the stuff they're continuing on the X plus 2 minus Y is the greatest philosophy of the world and all that. I don't remember what exactly it was. But hey, I'm glad they're in.
Yeah. I think there's an opportunity, call this a long shot. You do have a crazy California South African who just moved to Texas who may or may not be political target. I'm just saying there's an opportunity here for us if we wanted to really reset the system, right?
Everybody like this podcast, KJ will cut it up for that part and it'll go on TikTok. We need that to go viral, right? And
Yes.
then everybody redoes it, and we'll get to Elon's American
That
Party.
is
Which,
absolutely brilliant.
you know, what's funny about that is I've seen more pushback on that potential party from the right than the left. And the whole thing is, don't you guys remember Ross Perot?
Well,
And
it's gonna their word is gonna split the vote.
but I think I think there's just as many Democrats who think like you do, are uh, who voted for Harris because it was a vote against Trump. Just as many Trump voters that voted for Trump who were against Harris. I didn't vote for Trump because I think Trump was going to be an incredible president. I think I was voting against Harris because I didn't trust Harris. And oh, sorry, I must have messed up the math on it. There you go.
Yeah, no,
But
that's definitely. I mean, that's a fair assessment. Like I've seen a lot of people who say, you know, I wasn't necessarily voting for Trump. I just wasn't voting for Harris, which is fine. I get it for whatever
both ways.
reason.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, for whatever reason, I get it. But you know, hey
Yeah.
man, hindsight
Well,
is what it is.
And there's always going to be stuff like that. Again, I've told you this story before, and you know, I was getting ready to move out of the Bay Area, and we were PCSing to Alabama, and my movers, the foreman was black, and so we were talking. This was Romney and Obama, and we were talking about all the different policies. And I tell you, this dude was a Republican by policy right down the line. And at the end of our conversation, I said, "Oh, so you're voting for Romney, huh?" And he goes, "Hell no." I was like,
Well,
at least, and I said, "Really? Why not?" And he says, "Yo, man, because Obama's a brother." And I was like, "At least you're being honest about it." And that was the thing. Like, I had a big problem with Colin Powell, who he said, I voted for Barack Obama because John McCain was running a very mean-spirited campaign. And then in the next breath, he said, and you know, Obama, it's a historic thing for Obama. It's like, dude, what makes it history? What makes it historic? That he's a senator? No. It's that he was black. And I get it.
What are we on? We're on 47 and we got one. So
oh no, it wasn't even that.
yeah,
I get it.
I get it why people did it. Like I said, I just
yeah. It's kind of like for me in 2012 when people were like, "Well, you're only voting for Romney because he's Mormon." It's like, well, I mean, to me, that's a huge bonus. Sure, I'm LDS too. So, but I tell you what, I wouldn't have voted for Harry Reid. Harry Reid was LDS. I wouldn't have voted for Harry Reid with a gun to my throat.
I will always say that Harris could have been a viable candidate had they done the primary, but to throw her in at the last minute, untested, was absolutely.
Hey, by the way, did you see what Salmon Fish just put? He brought up Terrence Howard. We love Terrence Howard. We had a long conversation about Terrence Howard.
Listen, man, I believe that anything is probable, right? Anything is probable in the universe because we just don't know what's out there. We have no way of knowing what's out there. So
we blew past our 1 hour with
holy scamolas, it's almost
CTR.
Jesus Christ.
Sorry, CTR.
They
I hope they cut us off already.
No, they'll send me an email. They'll send me a nasty gram. It's cool. But no, I
sorry about that.
I think I don't know, man. I think like so we go back and we look at the lessons from Hillary Clinton, right? Who
which lessons?
So I'm about to say it. So with all her history and misgivings, right? She was probably the most qualified female candidate for POTUS and probably the most believable candidate for POTUS to date for history. Hillary Clinton, right? Even with all the baggage and stuff. Secretary of State, she was a senator, like she checked all the blocks. She checked all the blocks experience-wise. At the end of the day, I don't know if she was too institutional or she was a woman.
I don't think either.
And I preface that by saying, you go back and you look at the Harris issue, you had a lot, especially in the black community, you had a lot of black men and women, which was surprising, saying, "Oh, we're not voting for we're not voting for her because a woman can't lead. And I'm thinking to myself, all right, cool. So now she's got the woman stick. Plus, she still got to deal with the fact that she's a black woman. That woman, she doesn't stand a chance. And you couple that with, I got to run a 90-day campaign and I'm not prepared and I haven't been prepped. And she just had an insurmountable hill to carry. I just.
So I tell you, I did not see anybody on my side. And I know you'll say, well, of course they wouldn't. But I don't know. From what I've seen, people don't really hold back. I never saw anybody say, I'm not going to vote for Harris because she's a woman. I heard that a lot from the left saying that's why the right wouldn't vote for her. I didn't see people that I follow on X and Facebook and the different social media saying, Harris, I'm not voting for a woman. Never saw a single person. Now,
wait, you follow Charlie Kirk, though? You must have missed
don't.
those. I thought you followed Charlie.
I don't follow Charlie Kirk. No, I'm talking about. Hold on. I'm talking about people I know. I'm not talking about national guys. Yeah, no.
I was gonna say it was a lot of.
I'm not even. No. I'm talking about people I know. Right? Like I don't care what Charlie Kirk says. I don't care what the Hodge twins. I think the Hodge twins are funny and they found a niche and good for them. Hey, great. But as far as like people I know, but like Hillary, I think the biggest problem with Hillary is she just came off as untrustworthy and disingenuous. People didn't. Well, it wasn't just establishment though, right? If she had been if Joe Biden had run in 2016, does he beat Trump? Does he beat Trump?
I think he watches Trump. I think he absolutely watches Trump, and it's not even close.
Right. Okay. And if you're comparing who was more, establishment, Obama or Clinton, or I'm sorry, Biden or Clinton, that's a straight up wash, right? They're basically okay. So again, there had to be. I don't think it was about a women thing. I really think it was because people didn't trust her. They didn't trust that she actually felt their pain, right? What was Bill's biggest thing? That was his, I feel your pain. Yeah. I'm there. Hillary would go down and be like, oh, I love some hot sauce on my collard greens whenever I'm down here in the South.
Well, yeah, I mean, she had an
authenticity problem.
Authenticity, right? So it just. But at the end of the day, her qualifications were there.
You can have all the qualifications, but if people don't trust you, and you can say, well, people don't trust Trump. Enough people did.
So whatever reason, they continue to trust.
For whatever reason, but I'm just saying this. Right. That's my analysis. Is that I don't think Hillary came off as trustworthy. That is not to compare her to anybody else. That's my own personal analysis, and so. Like Romney, and that's one of the reasons Romney lost, right? What was one of the biggest things that people killed Romney on was, he flip-flopped on abortion and he flip-flopped on.
Romney ran against a buzzsaw. You could have put Jesus Christ himself.
No. I don't agree. If you remember, Romney actually, the last couple of Clear Politics rolls actually had a lead, which was almost a full %. And then you had the Superstorm Sandy came in, and you had what's his face, Fatso from New Jersey, Chris Christie go in and say, yeah, my buddy Obama's done such a great job. Given it's okay to say, hey, the president supported us, not slap him on the back and say what a great job President Obama's done, because Chris Christie did not like Romney at all. I think Chris Christie was like,
was that the 12? Was that the 12?
That was the 12. You're talking about the 08, which was McCain. I'll agree with you on the McCain one.
Yeah, nobody. Jesus Christ ran. Nobody was beating Obama in 08. It just did not happen.
Right. And
no, I think you're right. He had, because Obama had some vulnerabilities going into 12. And you know who I really would have liked to have seen stay in the politics, but he got so fed of it, he got so fed up. Paul Ryan was a hard ass conservative, but he got so fed up with the wash, he just got out of the game. Like I think that was a good principled conservative who, had potential. He just at the end of the day, he just got tired of it, man.
So Liberty, you're right. A large number of evangelicals did not turn out for Romney just because he was LDS. And Paul Ryan, I think Paul Ryan ended up being kind of a moderate. He was somebody that was more of a financial hawk that we could have used, and it goes into a lot of the stuff where we look at these guys and we say, okay, we have some good people that no longer want to run because they get chewed up by the machine. And you look at somebody, you can go back and it doesn't matter who, Scott Walker was, now he's boring. That's why DeSantis didn't make a wave, because he came up and, he was kind of like mellow, and he kind of said, here's my policies. Look at Florida. He wasn't super energetic.
I don't think DeSantis would have done well nationally. Like I think
he should have done better. And I think when he runs in 28, which I think he will, I think he'll he'll be primed for another one. I think he's going to have lessons learned.
Got Jed is the heir apparent for 28. I got
JD.
I don't see nobody else in the Republican. The problem with the Republican Party is they've all been castrated. They've been castrated so much so to the point to where nobody has anything to stand on. But that's not to say that the Democratic Party doesn't have its own chaos, because the Democratic Party is shit right now. Excuse my crassness, but it just is. But the Republican Party has what's the one that said he's not running? The guy I can't.
I don't know. You like the governor out of Maryland, West something.
West isn't running in 28. I love Westmore, but 28 is not his year. No. 28.
I think you're gonna have. I agree with you that JD Vance will likely be the presumptive favorite. But the problem with JD Vance is going to be how the next 3 years go, and if Trump becomes a millstone around Vance's neck. And like, I think you could see a very similar situation in 26, especially if there's a wipeout, that you're going to have calls by Republicans for Trump to step down. And I don't think Trump's going to do it. Maybe the best case scenario is that in 26, Republicans still win the House and the Senate, keep the House and Senate because things get better over the next year and a half, whether or they just keep it as a puddle. They keep one in the House, or it's not too bad. And then Trump has a natural cause of non-life. And I don't know what people report on this stuff anymore, but he dies in office, right? And then Vance is able to say, hey, look, here's my record. Here's how I'm different. Here's what I've been able to do for the last X number of months. It would have been very similar to what people were kind of saying about Harris for that last year. The best thing that could have happened to Harris would have been in 23, late 23, with that Biden would have
started
been. That he would have actually passed the torch. That he would have said, look, due to health concerns from early onset Alzheimer's or heart problems or whatever it was, or best case for Harris would have been that Biden died in office as well, because then you get that sympathy.
If she'd have won the primary, if they'd have primaried him and she'd actually won, like we can go back and we can point to it. Like the biggest thing, like with that View interview, and they asked her that softball question, how are you different? Is there anything you could think of that would have made you different? And she was like, I can't think of a single thing.
Yeah. Like that was the end of hers. Yeah.
But again, that comes from experience, right? That comes from experience. And then choosing the VP, I think the VP pick was absolutely horrific. I think they had an opportunity with the strong VP, they'd have been done. But I mean, that's all hindsight 2020.
Yeah.
I do believe that the midterms are going to shift the houses. If things
Too early
remain,
to say.
not necessarily policy wise, but if things remain chaotic the way they are, every other week the sec def is in a different gas. You got people going left and right doing their own thing. If we continue this trend of leadership, I think 2026 is going to be a lot more difficult. Plus, two, people are going to digest that big, beautiful bill a lot. If the Democrats can get their shit together, that's the problem. The Democrats are so, and that bothers me so much. The Democrats are so jacked up that any other year, a viable or competent option outside of chaos would easily win. But you don't have that. You don't have that on the Democratic side. You don't have those moderates on the Democratic side that can come and say, hey, look, all right, we went too far right. We've been too far left. Let's see if we can come to the middle and figure it out. We don't have that in the Democratic Party. And they can't take advantage.
But the Democrats, I still think the Democrats do a better job of voting as a bloc than Republicans did. Like the Republic, yeah. One of the things, though, that especially now that Manchin's out and Sizemore are out, I think they do a better job. Like looking at the big beautiful bill,
if Fetterman is up, he's gonna be gone. Fetterman's if he's eligible to be primary, he's gone. They're gonna.
Fetterman is.
I think he's good for another 6. He doesn't get until the next midterm cycle. I think he's good because he just got put in.
Yeah. So he's got lots of time unless he has another stroke and truly has to. And the funny thing about Fetterman, if he does have another stroke and he's incapacitated, I'd put all the money you want that his wife would be the one who would be named as his replacement.
Well, and then you got the seat. There's a seat in Texas that has to be filled that Abbott is just refusing to fill. So eventually he's going to have to fill that seat. I mean, there's a couple of seats that are out there.
Whose seat is that? Who was opposite of Cruz that got?
No, it was a house member died.
House seat. Oh,
yeah.
Is she the one that went missing forever long?
I don't know if that was her.
Oh, okay.
But then remember, you got I don't know if they replaced Feinstein either out in Cali.
Yeah. California has 2. It's got what's his face, Adam Schiff, and who's the other one? The honeypot.
They're primarying him this year. So,
I don't have a problem with. Honestly, I don't have a problem with, and I think everybody should get primaried.
I agree.
But it's also going to be interesting to see how much money Musk puts into the American Party, and how many of his buddies get on board with that.
Can you imagine how? So, I think we can safely say that Musk swayed the election, right? His money swayed the election, right? And that's fine because he's not the first one to do it. Yeah. He won't be the last one to do it, right? So it's going to be interesting now. How does that take a role? Because Tesla took a tremendous hit, right? Like his net worth is greatly diminished. Some of it due to his own, doing or whatever. But I don't know if he's going to have that kind of influence. And then too, you got the conglomerate of tech bros who are slowly. Well, didn't they just put 4 or 5 of them in the army or something like that? So they're gaining more influence into the government. And you can't undermine the influence of Palantir, who is essentially the premier contractor for the government now. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, man. I'm nervous, I'm scared, but I'm excited at the same time.
So there's Teslas over the last over the last year or so. So yeah, it was up here, hit really big right after the election. dropped down to here, but I mean, it's kind of rebounded okay. So I mean, this is when everybody lost in April, that big drop in April, and so since then it's kind of come back up. So I mean,
as it gets further away from the administration, I think he'll be able to recover. But like I said, it's
yeah. Well, so let's do this. Let's go click. Let's click those. I think that you and I once again show that if you had two people who were willing to actually just sit down and talk and have good conversations,
do the work,
and cared about this country, that you could come up with ideas, even if it's just kind of weird off the wall ideas. Again, the Hall of Fame, we can call it the Hall of Fame theory. Hall of Fame
theory is brilliant, by the way.
Yeah.
We've stumbled on a brick. Matter of fact, we got to email Greg and ask him. I'm gonna send him snippets of this conversation and ask him his thoughts.
See if he wants to come on and discuss it with us next week is what we should do.
Yeah.
Hey Greg, we have the answer.
We figured it out. What do you think?
We got it. So, the Hall of Fame theory. The Hall of Fame, the Constitution Hall of Fame vote. There you go. The Constitution Hall of Fame vote. But I think that if you had people that were more concerned about this country, and this is a running theme with us, there are certain themes that are pretty continuous with us, that the Constitution could be improved upon in certain ways, meaning additional amendments. Not that there's anything wrong with the Constitution, but amendments.
It is a living document.
Yes.
So.
Right. That the mainstream media is the enemy of the American public. That's another one, I think. And that we don't trust federal politicians as far as we can throw a 400-pound block of iron. That's how much. It's not even how far we can throw them. It's how far we can throw a 14-ton block of iron. That's how much we trust them.
Fire all 535. They got to go.
Yeah. And just there's things like that. So, KJ, you go with your last thoughts, and then we'll hit the button.
I am good. This was fun. This was a blast. We got to yell at Liberty. Liberty got to yell at us. Thad got to yell at us, and then end up.
Thad agreed with me.
That's what I'm saying. So, yeah, man. I mean, we got salmon fish in here. We got Serapina in here now. So, yeah, man. This was a fun episode, man. I love you guys. I really do appreciate the conversation every week. It may seem like I don't, but man, I'm grateful for you guys coming in and shooting the shit with us every week, man. So thank you guys for popping in. I'm good, Doc. You ready? We can pop on up out of here. We can pop on up out of here. I gotta close the banner though. There we go. All right, I did it right this time. We will see you guys next week. We got some more guests coming on, and we'll see. Hey,
blind squirrel.
That's it. Hey, we'll take it one time, man. You guys have a great week. We'll see you guys on the backside, man. Be safe out there. We out.
Gee, Ray, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
All right, yo, let's get into it.
Try to take over the world. Try to take over the world.
And greatest chaplain in the world, Mr. Lance O'Neill.
Try to take over the world.